Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Mario and I'm back again. Today we are going to be unboxing the Ninja Foodi digital air fryer. It's quite a mouthful. Let's get unboxing. So this is part one of the series where we're going to just unbox the Ninja. We are not going to cook food today in the Ninja. I know that's going to upset many of you, but I feel it's important that we do the unboxings of these new devices and then cook, so I can do a triple side-by-side comparison, or maybe in a quadruple. It's going to get really hot in this kitchen and I'm going to be suffering through it, but I think you deserve to see what I find. First thing, let's talk about this 1800 watts. Now my first GoWISE USA air fryer, the regular one, not the oven, was 1700 watts. The GoWISE USA air fryer oven was only 1600 watts. The Gourmet, which was only 5 quarts, was down to 1500 watts. The Breville was 1800 watts, so comparable here. And the Cuisinart, which we'll unbox as well, is about 1800 watts. So they're all very similar in range, with the exception of the GoWISE oven, which is much lower. The next thing we have here, up to 75% less fat than traditional frying. People get confused here, and I've been criticized. They say, you know, you're putting oil on that. You're not supposed to put oil on that. And, you know, they stress this to me. I have never seen an air fryer advertised no oil. They usually say little to no oil or X amount percentage of less oil. My opinion is this. If you have a pork chop, which is very lean, you're probably going to want to rub some oil on it, preferably extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil, because avocado oil has a higher smoking point. If you have chicken wings, for instance, that have skin on it, you don't necessarily need it. You can do without it. Again, my opinion. 60% faster. Now, I will say a regular air fryer cooks wings pretty fast, considering. The air fryer ovens I have tested to date, again, the air fryer ovens do not cook as fast, need a higher temperature, and they're not as crisp. We'll see how this one does. You can also see that it'll roast, air broil, bake, dehydrate, toast, and bagel. And a couple of good points on this is the toast and bagel. The GoWISE USA air fryer oven, you can use it for toasting. However, it does not have bottom heaters, which means when you're cooking the toast, you're probably going to have to flip it. So often when my wife is cooking toast or a morning waffle for her or my daughter, she has to flip it. This has the bottom heating elements, so this will act more like a toaster. One of the nice points I see about this is that this will flip up out of the way, and it also has a compartment to flip down for easier cleaning. Also down below here, you'll see it says 45% larger usable cooking area than the Cuisinart. Now, when this was released, I think the TOA 60 and maybe the TOA 65 Cuisinart were out, but I have a TOA 130, which isn't even listed on Cuisinart's website, which leads me to believe that the Cuisinart TOA 130 I got is one of those Costco / Home Depot or BJ's exclusive. So we're going to check that out as well. The other thing I like about the bottom heater in this is when I'm cooking my keto pizza dough, I'll cook the top, flip it, and then cook it again. Where with this one, I can cook the top and the bottom at the same time. And that goes for whether it's an air fryer or an air fryer oven. Now, let's unbox. Alright, let's cut this thing open. I always like to be careful unboxing something, because whenever you have a problem and you got to return it, it's easier to return something in a box that hasn't been destroyed. Okay, on the top they show some additional accessories like a casserole dish, a mini muffin pan, a broil rack. It would have been nice if they included it, but I realize there are sometimes price points to go along with this. Here we have a user manual, and it comes with the crumb tray, the wire rack, the sheet pan, or I would say also a drip tray, because you don't want the oils necessarily getting on the heating elements in the Airfryer basket. And they do call it a basket and not a tray. Doesn't look like we can take this out the traditional way, so I'm going to have to flip this on its end and take it out. Take off, and here we got the sheets. We'll go to that later. Okay, we are greeted by a warning. Do not touch hot surfaces. Oven surfaces are hot during operation, during and after. Let's take off this top here. This does require a grounded outlet, and I've said this before, it is best if you could plug this directly into the wall. However, sometimes it's unavoidable, like the case is for my extra power that I have behind here, where I have to use a short right angle cord. As long as you work within reason and within manufacturer specifications, you should be fine. But it is grounded, and one of the reasons why for that is this has a metal casing. If you look at the regular air fryers that have plastic casing, usually you don't see a grounded outlet on there. Now we're going to talk about dimensions, and the reason why is twofold. With the Breville, when I received it, the dimensions were nowhere close to what they said on advertising. So let's give this a quick measurement. Going across, we have about 18.5 inches. Vertically, we have about 7.5 inches. Deep, we have about 14 inches. Now, the 18.5 I gave you here does not include the handle. If you want to include the handle, that's going to bring it up to almost 20 inches wide. One of the key features with this is that for cleaning, it's supposedly easy, which we'll get to, but also it's easier to store away when not in use. Now, I don't know how good that is to be able to store away it's in use. It's like when you buy that piece of exercise equipment where they advertise, folds up easy to take it out of the way. And usually that means you don't ever use it because you slide it under your bed and you never see it again. Granted, it's a slightly different story, but that is the case. So someone also complained that they want to see more views of this, and with the Breville I did not do that. So I'm going to turn this around so you can see what the back looks like. And it had to do with if there were cord wraps or something to block it from going against the wall. So you have these serving two purposes. One, you can route the power cord through here to shorten it up, and it also keeps it from going against the wall too far, because you do need this to ventilate. And typically what you'll see is about 6 inches all around is what you need to ventilate. And since this is a short oven, it's easier to have more space up on top of the unit. Now, when we flip this up and out of the way, you'll see that takes up a lot less room. The vertical height is now about just over 14.5 inches, 14.5/8. And I have plenty of room under my cabinet of 17.5 inches. And you're never going to use it to cook this way, but it's good to know that you can fold this up and out of the way. I don't expect us to do this often at all. The exception would be to clean it, because you can flip it up, pull this lid down, and look at that. You can easily wipe this down nicely. And that is one of the key points of this, because my GoWISE USA air fryer oven, it's a little bit of a pain. You can disassemble the door, but when you take out those two screws to disassemble the door, eventually the plastic is going to fail from taking it apart so many times. So we're going to flip this back down. We're going to flip the door down. We will take out that little warning here. And let's see now the tray arrangement. Okay, on the top here we have the air fryer basket. And when we measure that air fryer basket, you get 13.5 by 13.5. However, the cooking area is going to be a little bit different. And the reason being is because you have this inset here. And I like this feature and I dislike it. I would kind of like the option to have a tray that goes edge to edge, but I understand why they do this. And the reason being is, with my GoWISE USA air fryer oven, I can fit 12 wings. Now this is the full wing without the little nub on the edge, 12 across. But they have to squish in tightly and they touch the wall of the air fryer, which means that the sides of each piece of chicken do not get good airflow and don't cook like the rest of the piece of chicken. Now, if we compare this to the size of the GoWISE USA air fryer oven mesh rack, you're going to see here the GoWISE USA air fryer mesh piece fits easily on the inside. That means I can still cook the 12 wings I usually cook and have an air gap all around them and in between. So it's going to potentially cook more even. And I say potentially, and I'll explain why later. On the next shelf we have a rack. And one thing I like about this over the GoWISE USA air fryer oven is that it locks in place where you can't pull it out too far. The issue I have with the GoWISE is there's no lock in place. You pull it about just past halfway and the thing will do a backflip, and it's happened to me, not completely, but it's happened. Now this doesn't seem to be as well done as the Breville, and I wouldn't expect it to because it's an oven at half the price. It is still nice to have. And this is what you're going to probably cook many things on: toast, waffles, or a number of foods that you don't need that mesh of the other piece. Next we have the crumb tray. Now this crumb tray is really shallow, and that'll probably be okay for most things. However, I find when I cook chicken wings, it can produce quite a bit of grease, and this could potentially fill up, and you got to be careful removing it because you're going to need to dump that grease whether you're cooking multiple batches or not. With the GoWISE USA air fryer oven, I don't have that as much of an issue because it's a deeper pan. Now let's look to see what came with this. This is a roasting pan. Now what I don't know, and I'm going to check up on that, is you obviously typically don't want grease and oils hitting those bottom burners. Now when you use the air fryer feature, typically those aren't on the bottom because you're just going from the top. However, I would say that in addition to being a roasting pan, this would catch a lot of grease. So you could potentially put this under the air fryer basket. However, that would limit some of the airflow within the unit. At least that's based on my past experience with the GoWISE USA air fryer oven and the Breville. As you can see, this will fit in here nicely. One thing I want to make note of is with my GoWISE, I'm able to store all these pieces in together, the mesh and the basket. This one you can too, although it looks like it's pretty close to the top, so I don't know how that's going to fare as far as causing any interference issues. But as you'll see, you cannot put the air fryer basket on the bottom because it will hit the elements. So you must put it up high. Now, a good thing about this is since this is so short, it will heat up faster, use less energy, and since it's closer to the heat, it potentially could cook faster. Now, one thing with this pan is there's no storage area. I can't just leave this in there, so it's going to stay out. With the Breville, I would just leave it sitting on top. However, my big oven now pretty much just serves to put all the extra pots and pans in that I don't use or don't use very often. So that's probably what's going to happen with this. However, this is a nice addition to have for a roasting pan. I could see it. You can't really put a full-size bird in here, which is one of the limitations and downfalls with the short oven. But if I guess if you spatchcock the chicken, you could lay it flat in here and cook it as well. Now let's go over a few other things. You know I'm not a fan of air fryer ovens. I don't think they do as good a job as regular air fryers. And I gave this unit a lot of criticism, and that was because of its shortfalls. For instance, no balanced door, it'll just fall down and crash. To clean this, you have to actually disassemble the door here, take 2 screws out to really get in and clean this well. And after a while, you take out those screws too many times, guess what happens? They're going to eventually strip out. One of the key differences between these two is while they're both air fryer ovens, this one has a fan, an element, and it pushes the air down. With this one, the fan is on the side. So that means that this is more like a convection oven rather than an air fryer oven, which makes me think it's not going to perform as well as if this unit had been built with the fan on top. Now, because of its compactness, that wasn't possible. But it also means that you're going to have to spin this around more often, or maybe spin it in, since it's a perfect square, 12.5 inches, well, 13.5 side to side, you can continuously turn it. But then again, you do that, now you're going to constantly open this oven up, and it's going to need time to reheat. You'll lose 25 to 50 degrees easy while doing that. The other thing is, with the GoWISE, is there's 3 rack spaces here, so I can leave extra in here, like the extra racks I have, and it won't be an issue. Granted, I have never used this for cooking on 2 levels, and the reason being is I think it's a terrible job, a terrible idea, because you're going to have to be not only spinning them, but tray off the shelves when you want it to cook evenly. So for me, 2 shells, it's a gimmick to me, to be honest with you. That is my opinion and what I have found. And the drip tray on the bottom, I have it lined, but this will hold a lot of grease, so if I'm cooking multiple things in a day, I don't have to empty it out after each use. Now, one of the other obvious things I did not mention is this has a rotisserie function. So it has a rotisserie barrel and a rotisserie basket, as well as kebabs capability. So that's another big thing. So this tends to have more options available to it. That being said, when this first came out, this was a $220 machine, and I had a coupon to bring it down to $200, which is expensive for these days. And this I've seen on Amazon anywhere from $200 to $240. But when it was $240, BJ's had this for $180. The Ninja, also nice. The door doesn't, while it's not balanced, it's on like a hinge or a spring, and it's okay. I feel that it's not as refined as what the Breville might have been. So you can power up this unit one of two ways. You can press this button, which will turn it on, or you could press this button to turn it on and off. Pressing this will not turn it off. So the default setting every time you power it up is air fry. Now it's starting at 20 minutes for 350. I've never paid attention to these built-in presets because they're usually nothing you want to use. So we have it set at air fry. If you press the time slice button, it will let you change the time, and you can rock this dial either way to change the time. I will say that this display is actually nice and bright. You can hit the temperature button and change the temperature up or down. And with temperature, with air fryers in general, usually you can cook to 25 plus degrees cooler or less temperature than you would a conventional oven. So when you press temp again, it freezes the point, so you can scroll through again. You got air roast again for time and temperatures, air broil, bake, dehydrate, which again, not a lot of room for dehydrate, I guess, in this unit here. Keep warm, and toast. Now for the toast setting, you can hit the time/slice button, and you can go through and tell it how many slices you want. Now this says it'll do up to 9 slices, and that could be accurate. It's pretty big for a toaster oven in general as far as the width goes. And as far as the darkness, you can see it defaults at 3. You can go all the way up to 6 and down to 1, but 3 is the default setting. And we'll press that again, and then you turn it again. There's the bagel setting, same thing, how many slices. Whereas the bagel, does it go up to 9? It still goes up to 9. And of course the darkness of the slice. And if you keep turning it, it won't start back at the top. You have to go backwards, which either way is fine. You also have, when you power this off, there is a light in there. It's hard to see, but it's way in the back there. But a light is a welcome addition. How it's actually going to light up the food so you can see is a good question. I find regardless, I end up opening the door, pull out the rack, look at my food, say yup or nope, and go from there. Now I know many of you are going to be upset with me right now. In fact, I'll probably get a lot of down votes for this. You are not going to see me cook anything in this video. Why? Because part 2 of this video is going to be unboxing the Cuisinart, and then we're going to do side-by-sides. And it's not until the 3rd video where you're going to see me cook something where I compare all 3 air fryer ovens cooking the same food to see how they do. And maybe if I run a really good heavy-duty extension cord, I'll throw in the air fryer as well for 4 devices at once. How do you like them apples? Or more likely chicken fingers. Anyway folks, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell so you know when I put out a new video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Have a great one. Don't forget to unplug the air fryer, folks. Take care.